And we are ready to start with the fifth installment of the series, which is the number one attack vector, a state of email security. Why? Because I don't know if you tend to use it in your work, but email is still like the most used communication channel tool. I mean, since the Pony Express, mail has been just increasing in numbers in terms of usage. So I think it would be good to dedicate one of episode to this technology. Of course, in terms of security, but let's start with what is happening right now. So in the past or in the present, everyone liked to keep their stuff on-prem. So email server was also part of your infrastructure, either stocked in a data center or in a server room or anywhere you keep your IT. What's happening is more and more vendors are offering email service as a cloud, which, when you think of it, gives some kind of an advantage, most likely the performance or the accessibility. Basically, people tend to access email from everywhere, from their phones. I mean, half of my email work is from my phone. I don't know how it is with you. And this gives this cloud email vendors a certain edge. Second, of course, it's another service they can give you, which comes with the money you pay to them. So IT business moves in towards the cloud email, and so are the customers. Also, there are some parts of maintenance which is then shifted to the vendor of this cloud email, as with most of the cloud solution. Where does it leave us with security? It's actually not so bad. We have some embedded cloud security features within those email platforms, cloud email platforms, and this makes security vendors not having a headache, but we need to step our game up, right? What those security features do, I will not be throwing names around here. I mean, you have a kind of hint where I took it from on the right side of the slide, but blocking emails from known bad senders, so a blacklist, antivirus for attachments, blocking the known bad URLs, content analysis to identify spam based on the intelligence from a cloud vendor. And believe me, the intelligence of an email cloud vendor, which is taking the telemetry from all the emails he processes, is pretty significant. In the past, those were all done by security vendors. Where does it leave us now again? Let me unravel. It looks like this right now. I will start from the left side, so I will start from the internet. Like everyone right now is starting from the internet whenever they want to give you answer to anything, right? But going from left to right, there is a secure email gateway. So there is a next hop, there is a redirection from email service to some kind of gateway. And this gateway provides a security services. I will talk about it more in the latter part, but security email gateways, they were great when we are talking on premise. Why? Because basically you had them next to each other, the email server and the email gateway. What happened later, you will see. Then you have an email service, which for purpose of this particular webinar, I will be talking about cloud email because the cloud email is, I mean, I believe it is a future. Unless we will have some revolution, global attack, and given that we had pandemic, some kind of a global cyber attack is not so taken out of the sky. Taken out of the sky, cloud, you get me right. It's simply the direction where we go to. The email cloud sparked another area of cybersecurity, which is called integrated cloud email security. This is an API connected security service. And of course, on the right, we have user, because let's say like this, there is no email without a recipient, sender. Basically, there needs to be both sides to make any kind of communication. Gartner released a fairly good market report about state of email security. And they divided it like this, which I think is pretty well described. I mean, it's Gartner, right? But it's pretty well described how it looks like now. So we have a cloud email platform. Let's say it's more or less in the center. It is connected with this overlay of security services, integrated cloud email services. There is built-in protection, which is another quarter in this great slide. And on the far end, there is a secure email gateway. What is pretty good to notice here is that email data protection, it evolved into a particularly separate area. Why? Still, I mean, I mentioned number one security vector, right? Most of the leakages, whether it will be accidental or I would call them uninformed insider threat data leakages, they are going via email. Why? Because it's easiest, because it's number one communication tool. So it would make sense to make this particular security solution or security product a separate area. Now, let's dive in. Maybe let's start with email security gateway, plain old email security gateway. It was in the past, when everything was on premise, it was an appliance. It could be virtual. It could be a physical appliance. It was connected. It was inside your network, being a next hop after the email server. So there was a user sending something from the email server through the security appliance of email security gateway, and then outside to the world. This is pretty good, but when we started to use email everywhere, the problem was you had to backhaul the traffic back to your network so it can get cleaned or security checked for this appliance, which creates some performance issue, user experience issues, etc. Of course, there are email security gateways in the cloud. They are still a next hop. There still might be some of the performance downgrade, but it's fairly not noticeable. So the main part, why it is, let's say, the market for the ESG is kind of shrinking, is because there is a big feature battle. The feature battle is between the embedded security feature in the cloud email and what the email security gateway actually offers. And I will be very frank here. For email security, I believe there are two most competitive areas of email security solution. One is a global threat intelligence or threat intelligence. So how good is vendor at recognizing threats? Does he have a great signature base? Or maybe he has outstanding heuristics, or maybe it's some kind of behavioral pattern recognition. Bottom line, how good can he recognize the threat? The other part is sandboxing. So there are rarely cases where someone doesn't use sandboxing on their email. There are new emerging technologies like content disarmament reconstruction, which is like 100% accurate because it doesn't rely on detection. It just takes the file, takes what's good, throws everything else, reconstruct it into the template of known document, and pass it to the recipient. But, when you have a next hop, you really need to have a value from it. That's why people are slowly moving into this. I have to be honest with you, I don't know actually the year it emerged. I know it's in the 2022 report, the integrated cloud email security. So let's say like this, you have a fair amount of good, maybe not state of art, but good email security features embedded in your cloud email because your cloud provider cares about the security. And this is good. I mean, it's very good to care about security. I will shake hands anytime and buy you a coffee if I can. Nevertheless, the integrated cloud email security, it's about owning a certain set of features which can be an addition, but a very valuable addition. So the detection techniques, they skyrocket. They skyrocketed in terms of how advanced they are. You have the NLP, NLU, social graph analysis. I mean, I just took a few of those, but basically they can even understand pattern of your communication. So they are, or the pattern of communication of an attacker. So they kind of know that this is not a blacklist, but it's what it shouldn't be, or it is not what it should be. Basically, it's a threat, or basically it's some taken over account, which gives us the second point, the provided takeover, account takeover protection. And account takeover is like the most problematic problem I was about to say, but let's say the biggest issue is like someone either gets his credentials phished, or now it's mostly getting his credential phished, and then basically his email is going rogue, sending some emails, spreading some malware, or authorizing some transaction via email which shouldn't be. So account takeover protection, you have the factors which are taken under consideration when assessing user identity below the point of takeover protection, is something that necessarily you would want to have in your email security. It's API dependent. I mean, it's API delivered, which means pre-delivery, post-delivery, it depends on API. One of the things to consider when choosing an ICES vendor. And of course, the human error is ubiquitous, found anywhere. So it would be good to provide some user warnings or user education on user awareness. This can be found in secure gateway, but this is also part of integrated cloud email security. And frankly, it should be like whole another area of how to not get phished. Those who want to know more about how to not get phished, I think the episode number 3 is telling a little bit more about it. So main difference for what we talked right now, secure gateway, the next hop, it's like a separate body made directly for email security. So the email is sent from the server, hits the gateway, and then moves to the recipient. Integrated cloud email security, it's more of a set of the features API connected to your server, where the security happens there alongside with the embedded cloud security features of your email provider. Which one is better for you? I mean, I don't know, I haven't seen your email server, but most likely you would want to do a feasibility study followed by POC and see some kind of, part of feasibility study should be a risk assessment. And then I guess you're good to go. Something that I mentioned is a whole another area. And this is something I believe should be underlined, is the email data protection. Now, personally, I work for the greatest data security vendor, so we treat this one very seriously. And as I mentioned, number one leakage vector, like communication vector, is email. So this part is solving the problem of, let's say you have a DLP and you have cloud email. And let's imagine you use either a cloud email gateway, or you use the integrated email cloud security. To provide a DLP, and I'm taking like enterprise level DLP with all the data classification engines, pattern recognitions, check them episode number 4 to know more about DLP. Basically, to have the right level of data protection, you would still need to backhaul the traffic to the on-premise which kind of nullifies all the advantages you got with putting the email in the cloud, right? This is why the vendors, namely, for example, ForcePoint, put DLP for cloud email in the cloud. So now it is a gateway, but it's a distributed DLP gateway where there is, I mean, the email flow is seamless and the data within is protected. And the level of work to achieve that basically grants this particular set of products separate area in this great Gartner chart. Let's go back. Email data protection is underlining whole email flow. So maybe we'll step back a little bit. And one more time, if I told you when I was starting, it was a little bit less information. Now you have more. So from the left, email security gateway, set of embedded separate organism with security features working as a next hop, ICS, API connected security features, kind of extending the embedded security of your cloud platform, email data protection, enterprise level DLP working alongside your existing security. If we'll go to where does it leaves us, I would say it's complicated because generally email security in the past was about to let the bad things out. I mean, keep them out. Now, of course, users are not crystal. So then it was also about keeping the right thing in. And the right thing in is mostly the data security. And we have those emerging technologies, not only emerging, we have these existing technologies. One is the gateway, one is the integrated services, third is data protection, and it's up to you how will you juggle this to get the right solution for your business. Fortunately, there are people to help. Hopefully, I'm one of them. So if you want, then reach me out here. In the meanwhile, the next time I will be talking about next generation of web browsing, which means remote browser isolation. Hope you like this one, and please give me like 1 more year to get better at this before you subscribe. However, I expect to enjoy my small show. Take care.